Hey there, Facebook land. My name is Heather Gray. I am a mindset and performance coach over at ChooseToHaveItAll.com. I'm also the host of a new podcast over on iTunes called Business Mindset Mastery, so you can find me there. It's been a while since I've gone live on the page, and the reason for this is actually really important to me today. I know you're used to seeing me pop up with trainings and general information on mindset for business and how to get past fear and imposter syndrome. And I know you're used to me helping you build your businesses. Today, I'm hoping I can help you build yourself a little bit. I think we have to have an honest, hard conversation about who we are as online business owners, how we show up on online business forums, and how we represent ourselves. I've been struggling with something, and at first when I had the conversation and I started it in my head, I was only going to have it in my Facebook community group. It was something that felt important to me, and I was just going to share it with a small group of people that I work with on a daily basis over at my Facebook group. And I realized that if I'm really going to be brave and bold and big, I have to share it larger. I have to make it public. I have to say what I mean and mean what I say. And I didn't want to go on a rant about it. I think that we all kind of like, when we go on rants, we only end up preaching to the choir. It took me a little while to figure out the words and what I wanted to say and how I wanted to say it. And so I need to back up a bit. I have a Facebook group. It's the same name, Choose to Have It All. And I have two members in my group who have had their content stolen online. Not just shared and passed around in like in a way that we pass memes or quotes, but like paid content that they've created that other people have purchased from them has been repurposed and sold by somebody else. This happens all the time in the online industry, and I know that, and I think that we have to think about how we think about that and how we talk about it, because here's the deal. We have to decide who we are when we know how this happens, when we know that this happens, rather. We have to decide who we are, how we're going to show up, and what we're going to say. And when it happened in a small community, one of the things that as a result of it happened is I know the people who stole the content. A lot of us do. Most of the people in my Facebook group probably know the people who stole the content. And if they're involved in the groups, they know the discussions involved. And we have this thing in the online space where we're supposed to be super supportive, where if we call out a business as being bad or fraudulent or something, we're bringing people down, especially if we're women. If we criticize a business, we're criticized for bringing women down. And I think that we worry about standing up and standing out because we worry about what it's going to say about our own businesses, what the fallout might be, what the natural consequence of saying, hey, I know you, I know what you did, it's unacceptable. The two people who had their content stolen, one has revealed the name of the thief in a private Facebook group that not everybody has access to, and the other has decided to simply hand it over to her legal team. The pissed off person inside of me wants to say their names out loud, so you never do business with them. And as I've been struggling with this and watching the people who stole the content still get leads on Facebook, still put out their shiny brand new image, I have just been enraged. And it's made me focus and question myself on something that I want you guys to join me on. Who do I want to be, and how do I want to move through the world now that I know that this happened? And yesterday, the person who stole the content from one of the people started pimping off her product on Facebook in a group that I'm in. And I wanted to call bullshit. I wanted to say, no effing way will I buy from you. No effing way will I help you. No, 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 no. And I wanted to be able to say why. Because I felt trapped in, I guess, societal expectations to be polite, or some sort of general, it's not nice to start a fight, especially because it was in someone else's group. It wasn't in mine. Thank God the thieves are not in my group. I didn't know how to move and I didn't know how to be. So I ended up engaging in this really passive aggressive Facebook commentary. And you all know what I'm talking about, right? Where you're sort of sounding kind of nice and polite, but you're really making a deeper dig. And that didn't sit well with me. That didn't solve the problem for me. I still felt like I had something to say. And what I realized is I don't have something to say to the thieves. They know what they did. They know that they chose a desperate action. They know, and they're going to create whatever stories they want about themselves as a result of this and about who they stole content from and all of that. I don't actually have a message for the people who were stealing content. I have a message for every single other person in these groups who know that they're stealing content and still give these thieves a piece of their time, who still stay friends with them, who still engage with them on Facebook posts, who still have the conversation with them, who still help them build their businesses, even though they know they stole content. That is who I'm trying to reach today. That is what's out of integrity. We talk about Jim Rohn's post, his sort of speech, right? Or his, I think he has a book, but he's credited with the quote of, "We are the sum of the 5 people we spend the most time with." And I was thinking a lot about that yesterday when I was engaged in this conversation about, like, if we're all in this group and we all know this online unacceptable behaviors happening and we're still allowing it into our space, that contributes to the law of averages of who we're spending the time with, who we're spending our our business networking time with, who we're connecting with on a professional level. And I can't help but think that rubs off on us a little bit. And when I first became an online coach, I really, really struggled with the idea of joining this industry because I thought it was people who were just trying to get a quick buck. They didn't really know their stuff, but they were trying to build a business out of it. And I didn't think it had integrity, and I didn't want to be associated with it. I started to meet other people who do have integrity, who are leaders in the space, who do show up and give back and offer value for their people. And I saw that there was a way that I could show up honestly, with integrity, aligned on all of the things that I cared about, and I joined in. I don't think in this space that we can simply be the change we want to see, because it still allows the darkness, it still allows the dark shadows to change and take up space with us. I think we have to challenge ourselves about who we want to be when we see people who are inexperienced in trades like, Facebook ads and copywriting. And in my industry, I do coaching. And so I have 20 years experience as a therapist. And so when I see somebody who's been through one breakup suddenly calling themselves a breakup coach, I want to lose my mind. It's about knowing that what you're teaching and what you're putting out to the world is your unique offering. Even if it's only going to reach 5 or 10 people, even if you're sacrificing the size of the audience for the message and to be able to be in line and lined up in truth. I think that we have to think about who we want to be, how we want to show up, and how we want to move through the world in this online space. And playing it safe because we're afraid of the bottom line and we're afraid of how our businesses are going to affect us is really out of character, because I don't think it just doesn't change anything, and it still allows people who have no business being here to be here. And I know that there's probably people who are going to listen to this replay and they're just going to say that I'm jaded and I'm that this is just something that happens. But here's the thing, when we start to accept it, when we welcome these people into our communities because we say, not my monkey, not my circus, right? That's the quote so many of us use. I think that gets in the way of figuring out what leadership looks like, what business ownership looks like. And I think about what I did yesterday, and because I wasn't willing to call it out by name, because I wasn't willing to say, no, nobody should buy your product because you're a thief, because I wasn't willing to do that, I shouldn't have engaged or given any attention. When it ceases to work for these people, they'll do something differently, probably also dishonest. But when we give it energy, when we give it oxygen, we're validating that they're on some sort of path that they should be on and that they could be on. And it just makes my skin crawl. It's not the leader I want to be. And we're all going to be challenged to find our voices. We're all going to be challenged to figure out when something that sounds like BS is spoken, are we going to call it out as BS? Because what ends up happening is we just go back to our choirs and we preach to the choirs and we say, oh, and I see this all the time in my groups, a snapshot of somebody's Facebook ad about like 6K in 6 months, and we go, oh, so much noise. Can you imagine? So many people are buying this, and oh, what a horror. But what are we doing to actually speak out about the horror we're seeing? What are we doing to say, you are not welcome here? This is not who I want to be around. This is not the conversation I want to have. And if you want to choose that, you can take the door. It's about having a boundary with ourselves around what's acceptable, what's unacceptable, and what we're willing to do and what we're not willing to do for the cost of our businesses. Now, I think everybody has to decide this individually for themselves. I think that this is a value statement, and some people are really going to choose to stick to the quote of staying in their own lane. I understand that. But if you're wanting to contribute to a larger conversation, if you're wanting to contribute to the space with integrity and with leadership, simply doing your own thing and letting everyone else do theirs doesn't contribute to the betterment of the industry. We have to challenge the status quo a little bit. We're all so used to this nonsense happening that we take our lumps with it. And rather than saying like, no, I don't want to have a conversation with you. And if you're in this group, I might unfollow this group. I don't want to share this space. I'm willing to take a stand on this to support the people who have spent time on their content, who have worked their butts off to organize information, to present a product, to sell it. I'm not going to be anywhere near the thievery that happens with this. I think it's going to be an individual journey. I would like to hope, and I'm hoping that by doing this video and having this conversation and starting this with all of you, that I'm going to be a leader in this conversation, that you are going to see me calling it out, because you know what? There are people in this space who simply should not be in their space. There are people who are too emotionally fragile to be in this space. And there are people who are not willing to do the work necessary or build the resilience and the thick skin necessary to show up day after day for their businesses, week after week. They just want the quick buck, the easy fix, and the simple solution to drink down, and it just doesn't work that way. Yesterday, I really don't like who I was. I went into that passive-aggressive space to try to make a point without really making a point, and it left me feeling kind of gross. Today is about setting it right and starting a conversation about what's welcome in the online space, calling out what isn't, and challenging all of you to join me in doing the same. It's interesting. I only see 2 people on with me live, and I see some comments. Hi, Heather. Thank you for joining me. I'm going to read your comments in just a second. And I don't know if this is because, like, I'm not teaching a business skill, and I'm not teaching a strategy that's going to help you, like, earn the next buck, or simply because it's 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time and people haven't even gotten up yet. But whatever, you know, if you listen to this conversation and you find it important, I'm going to ask that you share it. I'm going to ask that you share it however you do that, on your Facebook profile, in your Facebook group, in your Facebook page. I put this video publicly because I want to start a conversation. I want to talk about how we're going to act and respond when we know that people are acting out of integrity, when we know they're damaging the space. Are we going to be comfortable with conflict? Are we going to be comfortable with the hard talks? What happens when it calls out? And yesterday, oh God, I wanted to call it out so bad. And I didn't know how to do it in someone else's group, in all honesty. And now I feel like the people who have actually had their content stolen from have managed it privately. So I'm not going to use my page to call it out, but I'm literally holding myself back from doing that. But what I want you all to think about is when this happens, because it is going to happen again. And you already know other people who are not my friends and not members of my group who this has happened to. When you find out it happens, how are you going to respond? Who are you going to be? What are you going to do next? When you know that people are putting out BS in the industry, are you going to call it out as BS? How are you going to be the change you want to see? Because I don't think we can do that by staying in our own lanes. Heather, I see your comments. Hi, yay, thank you so much for sharing it into the group and letting people know what's up. Here's the thing. This is going to be an ongoing talk. I don't need to go on forever about it. Yesterday I was prepared to. I was completely prepared to rant, but we're only at 15, 16 minutes, and I'm good with that for now. But I really we have, the quote out there is, when someone shows you who they are, believe them. And I believe the thieves like nobody's business. But if we reverse engineer that and we turn it inside out, when we show up as ourselves, are we doing it in such a way that people will believe us? Because if you are talking about the horror of content stolen, but you're still engaging with the people who stole the content, you're still colleagues with them, you're still biz besties with them, you're still in Facebook groups with them, and you're not talking to leaders about asking them to leave the group, if you're still engaging on some level, well, I think that starts to show us a little bit who you are too. It's not your monkey, not your tribe, not your circus, all that. But we have to take a stand on this. It's the only way I think we change the tides. Otherwise, I think we keep falling back on acceptance, on that this is just the way it goes. But these people are a cancer. They're changing and affecting the integrity of people like myself who are showing up into the space with 20 years of experience and who know what they're talking about, and they're affecting the integrity of the online business. It's not, people, online entrepreneurs are always talking about the lack of respect that they receive and how nobody really listens and they kind of get made fun of, and there's so much slime online that I actually don't blame the critics. And we have to remove the slime. And we have to decide, one of the things that's most attractive about this industry is how it's unregulated. So you really can go through just one breakup, people, and become a breakup coach and teach people how to get through it, because you survived your one heartache on life. You are now an expert on everyone else's breakup. It's bullshit. But the online industry allows you to do that. The only way we can recognize and rectify that is by sort of not regulating ourselves. Because if this industry is unregulated, that means we can be unleashed in our response. We can be uncensored in how we're responding to people and say, do you really have the experience for that? You're selling copyright services. Tell me about the sales pages you've written that have been successful, and what are the stats, and how have you converted? Oh, you sell Facebook ads? Tell me about your marketing experience. How long have you been doing this? How are you staying on top of all of the latest trends? Oh, you are virtual assistants. Tell me about how quickly you get things done. And those types of questions are seen as unsupportive sometimes. You're allowed to ask them on these one-on-one private calls that nobody really knows what happens, but publicly we're supposed to say, yay, you're a copywriter, go get them. Yay, you sell Facebook ads, you got this. What? Maybe we don't. And we need to be asking and having the hard conversations. So that's the conversation I wanted to start today. I don't think I have anything else to say. If you guys have comments, tag me in the discussion and make sure that I see it, because I'm going to go back to this video. I'm happy to continue the conversation. And if you have questions about what I've started, or even if you just flat out disagree with me, let's just have a conversation and see what happens next. Thanks, Heather, for joining me, and I will see you guys soon. Bye.